and a deal that involved the Clippers acquiring Rondo from the Atlanta Hawks for Lou Williams and 2 second-round picks. Now, LA gets a floor general while Atlanta gets more scoring depth. And Jay Will, the professor, what do you see Rondo providing the Clips on their quest to the franchise's first ever championship?
You see, MT, this team is now getting El Capitan. They're getting a leader. They're getting somebody who is willing to draw a line in the sand and say, hey, you get over here, you do what I need you to do. Kawhi Leonard is not that guy. Paul George is a scorer, but he's different than Rajon Rondo. Now, exclude this year. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about playoff Rondo, okay? Got to average 6.6 assists per game. 6.6 assists per game. I said it. I still butchered it. Here we go. On the screen coming up. Once again, look how he comes off the screen here. As he comes off the screen, look at the read he makes. Simple reads. What are you doing here? He's going to attack this gap. As he attacks this gap here, look at how the defense all rotates over. Defense is coming over. Here we go. Defenders coming over. Coming over. He's seeing everything, right? Rondo, always seeing the floor. This is what you love about him. Just scouring. As he's coming, he's seeing here. What are you doing? What are you doing, Jokic? He sees over here in the corner. He also sees behind him that Danny Green can slide into this gap, making the simple plays as he draws the defense, seeing the court, boom, kick out pass, bald eagle there, ready to knock it down, knocks down the shot, okay? Little simple plays like that are what makes him special. Basketball IQ. Once again, as he comes off this high pick and roll, spacing, timing is everything. AD sets a screen. All right, as he sets a screen, the person to pay attention to here is Paul Millsap. Watch how Paul Millsap here just keeps going back, keeps going back, keeps going back. You know why? Because when he comes off this screen, he's pushing him. He's pushing him. Watch how he creates space. Keeps going at him, keeps going at him, keeps going at him. Now as he goes at him, I missed it, darn it, you'll see it. As he goes at him, he gets into the gap here. Look at all the defenders he draws. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Look at some of the gaps these guys have. You have Dwight Howard can slip behind the defense. Danny Green can slip up here. You have a little kick to the corner. Look at the vision here. He's reading everybody. What are you doing, Jamal Murray? Have a kick out here to KCP. Can I see here to Dwight Howard slipping behind Jokic, who's not paying attention? Michael Porter Jr., he's not paying attention to his man. Can Danny Green slip up here for a 3? Or have a simple gap pass right here to AD. Now, come on. Get out there, Paul Millsap. Get out. Those are the simple plays, though. That basketball IQ, making the game easier for everybody. That's what the Clippers were missing. How about Kawhi Leonard and Paul George lead this team in assists? Nobody else on the team is averaging 3 assists or more.
All right, you're in your playing shape, you're in your touchscreen shape, but you are not a Rondo expert. The person that is on this show so happens to be Paul Pierce. You played with him. You understand his leadership style. How do you think he'll fit in with the Clippers?
Well, I like what Jay Will said about drawing a line in the sand. And the things we questioned about the Clippers last year is they lack leadership. That's something that Rondo is going to be able to bring to the team because, of course, he did graduate from the Pearson Garnett Leadership Academy. And so, and now I think this is the one thing that the Clippers were missing. And one can argue that he was the 3rd most important player on the Lakers championship run last year. I didn't say best, but most important player. And I think he can provide that for the Clippers because now they have a leader, they have a champion, and a guy, he raises their IQ, and a guy who knows what it takes when it gets there to get in guys' face when they're down or when they're up 15 points to close out a team, when they're up 3-1 to close out a team. That's what he's going to provide, and that's what I thought the Clippers were missing last year.
Rondo, terrific basketball IQ, great in pick and roll. But the one thing you and Jay didn't mention that the Clippers are going to actually need from the point guard spot is scoring. They're last in the league as it relates to their point guard starting and scoring points. So what does that mean? They're in the West. You got Book and CP. You got Donovan Mitchell. You got Dame Dollar. You got guys that's going to get you buckets, Spider Mitchell. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the last couple of minutes, Kawhi loves to operate mid-range in the 3-point stance. I don't know if Rondo's going to be able to have him cutting and moving and stuff like that in their first year. So I'm excited that he gets a chance to run with them, but he's definitely going to need to score some points and hit some open shots.
I think what you prove with your touchscreen, though, is that, playoff Rondo situation is that he's the floor general they need. Do you believe he can bring the scoring that Jay Rose is mentioning, a load that he really didn't have to carry as much with the Lakers?
I mean, he started to make shots for the Lakers off kickoffs and things of that sort. I think he has to be serviceable. But when I watch him play, nobody makes the game easy. Right? Like Paul George and Kawhi are getting points out of their system or when they're isolated. It's not like somebody's just in transition, a hockey assist. Those little pass the ball ahead, make the simple play. I think that's an additive dimension to their team. I don't know if he's enough to get them over the hump, though.
Okay.
That's another question.
Yeah, that's another question, especially if you got LeBron coming back.
He's a reigning defending NBA champion. He was on that Lakers squad last year. He knows how to run a team. He's a two-time champion. Experience and all of that stuff that comes with it, he's got that. Then you have to take into consideration the fact that because he's with the Clippers, how much did that potentially do to the Lakers, which is something we'll get into a little bit later, because you're talking about a guy that's incredibly familiar with the things that the Lakers like to do in order to be successful. So he's able to bring his already supreme intellect to the equation. But then when you combine that with his knowledge of what they want to do and how they want to do it, because he's been their teammates, you never know what kind of profound impact that could have. But ultimately, it all equals to this. There is no excuses, and it puts Kawhi Leonard in the line of fire. The pressure has mounted significantly. He wanted a point guard desperately. He's got a point guard. The Clippers have given him everything that he needs. It's on him. He wasn't the man in San Antonio, okay? Even though he was the man in Toronto to some degree, we all know what role Kyle Lowry and them played from a leadership perspective and the continuity and cohesion that they had available to them because they had been accustomed to playing with one another for years. Now it comes down to Kawhi Leonard, the face of this franchise, the man that they mortgaged the farm for. This is what it's all about, and it's on him. And I love it because this is when we're going to find out what this brother's made of. I'm not talking about points, Max. I'm not talking about his personal level of production. I'm talking about his ability as a leader to galvanize the pieces around him to make sure you get max potential or max production out of the parts that surround you. That's what leaders do. We're going to see whether or not Kawhi Leonard has that in him.
Well, we never claimed Kawhi Leonard was a leader, just playing basketball at his position. There are very few who've ever done it better than him. Two-way player. So the issue has not been Kawhi. The issue's been Paul George, who doesn't show up in the playoffs, period. Paul George goes from all-star plus regular season to starter plus in the playoffs. He goes down like a full notch. Kawhi doesn't. Kawhi's a two-time finals MVP. Kawhi was great last playoffs until Game 7. I agree with that. That was a choke job. But Paul George is the guy hitting the side of the backboard. Now, you pointed that out. Now, Rondo makes them better. I wouldn't say no excuses better. I would say better because they had to give up Lou Williams to get him. And it's too bad for the Clippers because the Clippers wanted to add Rondo in the offseason, but they couldn't make it work because Rondo wanted to go get paid. Of course, you want to go get your money. He got it. But now in order to bring him in, they had to exchange a piece. In the regular season, Lou Williams better than Rondo. And it's not like Lou Williams can't play under pressure. It's just that what this team needed, they're playing Kawhi sort of as a point forward. That's not really him. He's gotten much better at it, even this year than last year than the year before. He's gotten much better at it. But that's not him naturally. They needed a floor general who can organize their offense and a guy who can help Paul George when it matters most in the playoffs. They got that in Rondo, but they gave up one of the best six men ever. I mean, who perennially is in running for sixth man of the year in the history of the game as much as Lou Williams? They had to give that up. They got marginally better. Now, marginally better might be enough because they were knocking at the door as is. But let's not make it like, oh, now they got Rondo. They didn't have to give anything up. No excuses. Kawhi, he ain't there.